You are now listening to the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hey guys, Michael here. I'm just popping in before you give this Cage is the Rage episode a listen because I wanted to provide some what I believe to be valuable context about what this episode is. So this episode was recorded quite a long time ago. I believe if I'm remembering correctly, this was almost 3 years ago, which is kind of insane to think that we've not done a new Cage is the Rage in that amount of time. And I'm not going to make any excuses. We just stopped doing it for a while. Some of that was we got busy, but a lot of it was really just we didn't know if anyone was actually listening. And we both enjoyed doing it, but since it wasn't as much of a priority as the actual podcast, it kind of fell to the wayside. But Amanda and I have decided that we really do like doing Cage is the Rage, and we feel like it would be very well received on the main feed. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to start giving Cage is the Rage away for free. We're not going to put it behind a Patreon wall anymore. It's just going to be bonus episodes when we feel like doing them. So on this specific episode of Cage is the Rage, we are talking about the Cotton Club, we're talking about Birdie, and we're talking about Renfield. And normally we try to do this show in chronological order, but our rule always was if we watch something that stars Nicolas Cage that's outside of the timeline, we will discuss it, knowing that at some point when we get through his filmography, we will be returning to it. So, but no, it's just kind of an interesting listen. I re-listened back to this episode to kind of prepare myself to put it out there. And one, it's a pre-Cinepunks episode. And while we are no longer on the Cinepunks podcasting network, we're on a new network now, it's still kind of quaint to hear how different our setup was. I didn't have any real equipment at the time. I was still using a Blue Yeti microphone, and it was situated between we were sitting on the couch. It was situated between Amanda and I, and that's how we recorded those episodes. Yeah, I don't know. I just felt like, why am I just letting this sit on Patreon? It's also kind of weird. I've not been able to confirm with anyone if they actually know how to access those Patreon episodes outside of Patreon. Like if you wanted to add the RSS feed to your like Apple Podcast or Spotify, it's possible. So fuck it. This is just going to go out to you guys. This is Cage is the Rage episode 3. And then we next month we will hopefully be having Cage is the Rage episode 4. Where we talk about the boy in blue. So, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll talk to you next time.
Warning! This movie podcast actually discusses movies. Be aware that it may discuss any of the following elements: endings, surprise twists, unexpected cameos, and all manner of spoilers. If this doesn't appeal to you, why listen to a movie podcast? Without further ado, please enjoy our feature presentation, The Shameless Picture Show.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Shameless Picture Show, Patreon edition. This is episode 3 of our Patreon show. I heard all of that. Patreon show, Cage is the Rage, where me and my beautiful and talented wife, Amanda, attempt very slowly to make it through Nicolas Cage's entire filmography in chronological order. I'm just going to mention it off the bat. If you hear a lot of, like, scratching sounds and licking sounds, it's because our dog Vincent Price is sitting in between us. Same time, if the audio seems a little quieter than normal, it's because we are sharing one microphone. We are sitting on the floor. We have an ottoman in between us, and we have the microphone in between us. And right now, Vincent Price is being kind of a jerkus. McGee. All right, so on today's episode of Cage the Rage, we are going to be talking about actually 3 movies. Amanda, do you remember what 3 movies we're talking about?
Cotton Club.
Yeah.
Renfield.
Yeah.
And Birdie.
Yeah! So I just made this whole big deal about how we're doing his films in chronological order. And we threw Renfield in just because we decided to watch it and we figured we might as well.
Well, we did have the agreement early on that if there was a new one that came out, we would include it.
Also, should also probably mention, we haven't done a Cage is the Rage episode since April.
That's been a long time.
Yes. So every time we do one of these, we're always like, we're going to be better at it. I'm not going to make that promise. There's only like 4 of you probably listening to this right now. But what I will promise is they will continue, and we will try to be better. I just can't make that promise.
Yeah.
Which is part because back when we watched Cotton Club, funny enough, we had the intention of getting this out a lot sooner. Let's see, when did we watch Cotton Club? Let's check my handy dandy Letterboxd, which has honestly changed the way I watch movies altogether. Remember back when I used to do this on a spreadsheet?
Yes, and I made the document for you every time.
Yeah. We watched Cotton Club on April 23rd.
Wow.
So we had the intention of getting this out the very next month. May.
Yeah.
And then May came and went. June came and went.
A lot happened, though. I mean, you kind of took over the podcast primarily on your own and had to deal with all of that.
Finding guests, yes. So I'm sure, as most of you know, Nick has taken a step back from the podcast. So that's part of the reason is it's just all me now. So I'm doing all the editing. I'm looking for guests. Amanda's still helping with logos. And at some point, we're going to get our social media game back going. It's just, there's a lot been going on. Our dog lost a leg.
Yeah.
He had to get surgery he had cancer that came back. So that happened.
Not Vincent Price.
Yeah, not Vincent Price. Our other one, Ralphie. You've been busy with work plus doing freelance stuff.
Yeah.
And I've also been, in the time that between the last Cage Race and now, I've also was finishing my film.
That's true, yeah. Yeah, so a lot's been happening. It's not like we've just been slacking for no reason.
Yeah, like we've been slacking, but there's been a reason.
Exactly.
Puppy. Yeah, Vincent Price does not like being...
How loud is the licking?
Oh, I heard it.
Is it loud?
You want to hear it?
Sure.
The best part about recording this is we can just stop the recording and I can just be like, you want to hear what we just heard?
Yeah.
Just like when she was just scratching Vincent Price's head. All that was heard. But I have often said that the Patreon episodes are going to be the grungiest, most gritty episodes because I don't touch them.
Makes sense.
I put a music in at the beginning and the end. I don't think I even put like the trailer in.
It's fine. They can hear Vinny.
That's his head getting wax.
Gentle wax.
Gentle wax. Oh, and here's
God,
a cat
Rowan.
now at this point. Everyone wants to join in on the new episode of Cage is the Rage. So, should we talk about them in order that we watch them? Because I feel like that's in order of memory.
Yeah.
Okay. So, one of my Achilles heels in the show has always been on the fly trying to describe what the movie is about. That's why I spend like an hour of my day writing a description. I cheated and I went to the website Fandango, which a lot of people remember as being the website you could buy movie tickets from and shit.
Can you still do that there?
Yes, you can.
Huh.
But what I like about Fandango is they actually have a decent amount of information in terms of description. So let me pull up one for Cotton Club. Their descriptions are actually pretty well written. Let's see. Wow, Bubby. I heard all of that. Anyways, The Cotton Club. The lives of various characters intersect at Harlem's renowned Cotton Club. Handsome horn player Dix Dwyer, played by Richard Gere, follows for Vera Cicero, played by Diane Lane, the stunning girlfriend of famous gangster Dutch Schultz. Does not roll off the tongue.
No.
Played by James Remar. Meanwhile, Dix's brother, Vincent, played by Nicolas Cage, falls in with Schultz's crew, while Oni Madden, played by Bob Hoskins, the jazz venue's proprietor, has his own mob ties. Although Dix goes on to become a Hollywood actor, his life doesn't get any less complicated or dangerous. So, The Cotton Club. How much do you remember about The Cotton Club? We watched this back in April.
Not a ton. By that I mean very little.
I don't think you took notes on that one.
Let me see if I did. That one I do remember thinking I did not know what to really say about it because I feel like Nick Cage wasn't really in it much.
Yeah, in terms of a
I did take notes.
In terms of a Nick Cage movie, it's not the strongest because he's not a big element of it. I would say he's an important character, playing Dix's brother, because so much of the central conflict, or I guess his name is Dixie. I don't know why they called him Dix. So much of Dixie's like the backdrop is because Nicolas Cage is fucking up, getting into gang shit, and so he's like an important character, kind of like he was in Rumblefish, but he's not a really big character.
Yeah, which has been what's tough about these early movies is like, especially if we're focusing on Nick Cage, it's not been easy to talk about Nick Cage.
Yeah. You're smiling about one of your notes.
I have 4 notes that are primarily just like things that made me laugh.
Okay, let's go with them.
All right. So the creepy old guy who picks up the guy to play the piano, he says, "I don't have a mother. They found me in a garbage pail." I said, "LOL, what?" And then I would never want to work for someone who says, "You don't want to work for this guy and look like that."
Okay.
I don't remember the context, but I still stand by that.
Yeah.
You do move me, like in unusual places. Like where? Your appendix?
So The Cotton Club is directed by Francis Ford Coppola back in 1984. This was still kind of a relatively early film for Coppola. So let's see, Cotton Club. He did, so in the grand scheme of things, he did the Godfather movies, The French Connection, Apocalypse Now, and then he did his Outsiders and Rumblefish, and then he did Cotton Club. So like this is starting to become point of like, so I was wrong. It's not necessarily early Coppola. This is like starting to become mid Coppola. And so notoriously, the film wasn't very well received upon its original release. And since then, Coppola has done a new cut of the film, the Encore cut, which we actually found is streaming on Amazon Prime.
That's right.
Because we got the DVD from the library of the theatrical cut.
Which, didn't we look it up? Wasn't there, like, not a huge difference between them?
I believe the focus is changed. Scenes are moved around and it's re-edited. A lot of people say the Encore cut is a lot better.
That's right.
Which is, we're learning, well, at least I'm learning about Coppola. He struggles with his theatrical cuts. And then he goes back and redoes them and kind of finds his voice in them, because he did the same thing with Apocalypse Now. There's like 3 cuts of that movie.
Wow.
So yeah, there's not a whole lot to say about the Cotton Club. I will say get some of my general thoughts about it. I liked it more than I thought I was going to.
Okay.
I think I gave it 3 stars. There's definitely elements I liked about it. I sometimes forget how good Richard Gere was when he was younger, who played Dixie. And Nicolas Cage kind of stole every scene he was in, just playing like the type of role Nicolas Cage was known for at this time, the hot-headed like best friend or hot-headed brother, you know, with he doesn't quite have his Nicolas Cage isms yet.
Yeah.
But he still has his like outbursts and his just chaotic energy. And it's kind of fun seeing Nicolas Cage playing a gangster.
I gave it a higher rating than you did.
What'd you give it?
3.5.
I gave it 3.
Yeah.
My exact review on Cotton Club was, I sometimes forget how good Richard Gere and Coppola. Even when they're not firing all cylinders, they're better than a lot of other people who are making movies at the time.
Yeah.
We watched the theatrical cut, and it says, while I plan to watch the Encore cut at the time, it left me feeling a little cold. I remember there was multiple times there was like these amazing like music sequences,
yeah, and
like these great dance sequences, and the storylines that I found myself really gravitating towards, like the story of Dixie Dwyer going to Hollywood. Like I guess I didn't care about a white guy in the jazz world becoming a success, but they also kind of commented on that a little bit too, because then you had a character like Sandman Williams, played by Gregory Hines, who him and his brother were really popular acts, and they could never quite get the same successes that Richard Gere got, even though they are arguably far more talented.
Yeah. From what I can remember, it definitely seems like that was like an intentional commenting on the problems of, why that's problematic. I will say the more we talk about this, the more I'm realizing that like I keep mixing up in my memory this movie with that Robert De Niro movie you watched.
Oh, Once Upon a Time in America?
Yeah, because I keep thinking
they do have some similarities.
Because I was like looking at the notes and I was like, why did I not comment on those really bad rape scenes? And I was like, wait a minute, that was not this movie.
No, this movie didn't have any of that. This movie had like excessively long musical numbers. And everything. This was it. But they're both like kind of that time period gangster movies. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that's part of that because we watched that more recently also. But I think my like annoyance with that movie has
tainted your memory of this movie
just because of being similar vibes.
Yeah, but one thing Once Upon a Time in America didn't have Lawrence Fishburne playing a character called Bumpy Rhodes.
True.
And
also,
we had Fred Gwynn, Herman Munster.
True. My other note was, I don't remember this exactly, but there was a mob guy who was drawing horses, and it didn't look like they hired a professional artist.
that was I think it was Bob Hoskins' character.
Okay.
Bob Hoskins, who played like that mob boss, who also played Mario in Super Mario Brothers.
Yes, okay.
I sometimes forget that he's not from New York because he has that perfect
He really does.
And like he also had the same accent Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Isn't he like English or something?
Yeah, he has like a Cockney accent.
It's crazy.
Which is Cockney is kind of like the New York of.
Yeah, they're both very strong,
England.
But I'm surprised that it doesn't like go through more.
Yeah, he's gotten really good at hiding it. So unfortunately, we won't have a whole lot to say about Cotton Club because Nicolas Cage had a relatively small part in it.
And we waited too long.
Yes, and we waited too long. But like, I do want to watch the encore cut, and now that some time has passed, like I feel like I'm more inclined to go back to it a little bit sooner.
I definitely want to watch the encore cut now that I'm realizing that I'm mixing up those two movies.
I do want to give a shout out to Justin LaLiberty. He's a personality on Letterboxd I like quite a bit. He also works for OCN Distribution, who is the distribution company behind Vinegar Syndrome. I believe he works with their partner labels. His review for this is kind of great. One, he has a quote from the movie, "I'm gonna kill him with my tap shoes," which is a great line. And he reviews the encore cut, which talks about it a little bit.
Okay.
He says, the much improved encore cut operates as Francis Ford Coppola's Killing of a Chinese Bookie, which is a John Cassavetes movie. Okay. Taking Cassavetes' tightening of his similar nightclub set crime saga and flipping the script, this time adding more performances instead of removing them, and sidelining the crime elements rather than shining a spotlight on them. So it seems like it's more about the shows and performances.
Which I remember was what seemed appealing about it, because that was the more interesting story.
Mm-hmm. All of this to say that in this edit is one of Coppola's best, reverential, albeit critical, of the past, while feeling aggressively contemporary in its energy and style. Plus, it features an all-timer unhinged Nick Cage performance that has seemingly been forgotten to time. Okay. And I feel like I remember liking Nick Cage in this movie. But this review intrigues me because I don't know if I would describe his performance as unhinged. So to think that maybe we got more Nick Cage in the encore cut. So I'm thinking, Cotton Club, we can't talk about a whole lot. I'm thinking within the next month or two, I might just get curious and want to watch the encore cut. So we might revisit the Cotton Club.
I think that's fair.
So that's the Cotton Club. Is there any other final thoughts you wanted to say about Francis Ford Coppola's kind of forgotten film?
No, because I've clearly forgotten it.
Can I read the tagline to you?
Yes.
According to Letterboxd, it was the age of jazz. It was the age of elegance and violence. The action was gambling. The stakes were life and death. That sounds way more intense than this movie.
I do not remember the movie being that intense at all.
No.
Like, damn.
Yeah, like I said, that's a good tagline. I don't know if it's a good tagline for the movie that we got.
Yeah.
Also, as always, guys, I'm going to apologize if our levels are peaking. Like I said, we're sharing a mic. I'm trying to find the right... That was Vincent Price being bored, if you heard that. I'm trying to find the right level of voice. You're actually reading pretty good.
Am I? Because I'm realizing that I'm moving a lot, and trying not to.
Yeah, I think if you project just a little bit more, but
Okay.
I think you're doing pretty good. I'm
Okay.
peeking. I'm all over the fucking place.
We could move it closer. Would that matter?
Yeah, that actually might help a little bit.
Like that? Cause
Yeah, because then I
can.
can be my fucking loud self,
Yeah.
and then it'll give you a little bit more noosh. Test. Oh, wrong direction. Sorry, I'm adjusting the gain on the fly. And I'm doing it blind, so hopefully that works. Okay, so next we have from 2023, Renfield, and our good friends over at Fandango had this to say. Evil doesn't span eternity without a little help. In this modern monster tale of Dracula's loyal servant, Nicholas Hoult from Mad Max Fury Road and the X-Men franchise stars as Renfield, the tortured aide to history's most narcissistic boss, Dracula, played by Oscar winner Nicolas Cage. At the point that he made Cotton Club, he hadn't won an Oscar yet.
Yeah.
Renfield is forced to procure his master's prey and do his every bidding, no matter how debased. But now, after centuries of servitude, Renfield is ready to see if there's a life outside of the shadow of the Prince of Darkness, if only he can figure out how to end his codependency. So this movie was released on April 14th, 2023, and was directed by Chris McKay, who is best known for doing the Lego Batman movie, if you can believe it. That's probably his biggest credit, is the Lego Batman movie. And he worked on Robot Chicken. Do you remember that show?
Yeah.
So he worked on that. Tagline for this movie, according to Letterboxd, sucks to be him.
When did we watch that? I don't see my review. Maybe I didn't.
I don't think you weren't logging things as much then.
I thought I went back and fixed.
We watched
everything.
it June 17th, 2023.
Oh, I missed a lot in June. Okay.
All right. So, let's talk about Renfield.
I had a lot of fun with it.
I had a lot of fun with it, too. My worry is that I don't know if I loved the movie.
That's fair. I thought Nick Cage made a fantastic Dracula.
Completely agree. He is the selling point of this movie.
Yeah.
He is so good in this film, and I kind of wish we had more of the toxic bromance between Nicolas Cage and Renfield.
Yeah, it definitely was more about Renfield pulling away from him. Like, we didn't get a whole lot of am I too loud now?
No, it's just sometimes it peaks.
Okay.
I'm just trying to.
Gotcha. Okay.
If one day I'll have a mixer and I can do this live.
Yeah. I feel like we didn't get a whole lot of him with Renfield before Renfield started pulling away.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, his crazy caginess is perfect for the Dracula character.
Yeah, and it's
in a way that, like, I don't know if I haven't seen every Dracula movie, but I feel like a lot of people play Dracula as just being like brooding and evil and stuff like that, but like he's just kind of like crazy.
Yeah,
and it works really well.
Yeah, and I also love the way they meticulously recreated the original Dracula scenes with Nick Hoult and Nicolas Cage. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
And Nicolas Cage, who's a big fan of the character of Dracula, apparently he's bringing a lot of like Christopher Lee into his performance. He's trying to bring a lot of into it.
Yeah.
And if anything, what I love so much about Nicolas Cage's performance in this movie is it almost feels painful in that it feels like he is like intentionally keeping things in. Mm-hmm. Like he at any given moment he wants to explode, but he's choosing not to.
But I feel like that works for the character because like it feels like the character is trying to hold back to some extent, especially because like for a good portion of it, Dracula is recovering from essentially not dying, but like exploding or whatever. So like Renfield's whole thing through the majority of the movie is bringing him people so he can recover back to his full self. So like it makes sense that Nick Cage would feel like he's holding back a little bit because he's supposed to be like an injured, recovering guy at this point.
And I guess what I should say, part of and I try not to go into a movie with too many expectations because I try to review a movie for what it is, not what I wanted it to be. Yeah. But I will say I went into this movie, having a good idea of what it was about, and I was hoping it was going to be, say, closer to something like What We Do in the Shadows and be like kind of a horror comedy in that way, where it was more between Renfield and Dracula. I do have to say what I loved about the movies. I did love the whole concept of Renfield going to like this Narcissist Anonymous meetings and like trying to like
it was like dependency
and like originally to get victims for Dracula, but then it starts working for him.
Yeah,
I thought all that was actually great.
I didn't know what to expect from this movie. I didn't know anything about it. I actually didn't even really know it was a comedy.
That's fair.
So I don't want to necessarily say I was expecting it to be serious, because Nick Cage, well, he does do serious roles still. Yeah. But like I don't know. I didn't know what to expect. I had like no idea. I also kind of forget that Renfield was Dracula's like servant. Just
apparently
like the name.
You have watched Dracula way fewer times than I have.
150%, yeah. I was always more of a werewolf person than a
that's
vampire
fair.
person. Like I don't think I've seen very many of the original Dracula movies, if any. Like I think only if we've watched them together.
Well, fuck. Now I know what our theme for this Halloween's gonna be.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought, I don't know, I loved the performance of Renfield.
Yeah, I thought he was great too.
Yeah, I was super into the whole like breaking away from, for him it's like my toxic boss, but really it's like they're not together, but it's like the guy he's lived with for the last hundreds of years. Like
yeah, it's almost like a relationship, but not quite.
Yeah, not in like a romantic way, but like they're close. They live together. They rely on each other.
That reveal at the end when it turns out his boss was Dracula, and everyone in his group had to be like, was like, what?
Yeah,
that was great.
I love when like the very end when they get brought back to life. And they're, like, consoling him or whatever. I don't remember exactly how it ends, but they're like, we all just, like, we died for a little bit there, or something like that.
It reminded me very much of, like, in The Good Place of Chidi seeing the time knife. It's just, like, they're all really struggling to process what just happened.
100%, yeah. I also loved Renfield getting his own apartment and the way he decorated it. That was the most, like sweetest thing I've ever seen in my life. Was just, like, the crazy colors and the way he dressed and everything like that. I loved it.
Yes. Now, what I will say, and also, she gets a lot of hate online. I absolutely love Awkwafina.
Oh, yeah, I do too. I don't know why she gets hate.
I don't know. Like, it's, I think a lot of it comes down to people not liking a female character that acts more like does more male-oriented comedy, being vulgar, saying what's on her. Yeah. I think that might be part of it. I also love her, like, kind of like smoker's voice, for lack of a better term. I think it's a great character trait.
I think she's great. I feel like I've liked her in everything I've seen her in, and I thought she made
she's got great comedic timing.
Yeah, she's got fantastic comedic timing. I also liked her as like his love interest in this.
Yeah. But what I will say I didn't love about this movie, my brain kind of checked out anytime it became an action movie. That's what I was absolutely not expecting.
I could see that, yeah.
Like, the first time, Renfield goes, has to kill those guys who are obsessed with ska, which I thought that was...
Yes, I forgot about that.
I thought that was great, and the whole idea that this assassin had come, it was being sent there at the same time. Like, I was fine with all that.
Yeah.
But then, like, when it started becoming kind of like a mobster crime movie, and they just kept doing these...
Like, gang or whatever.
Yeah, excessive, like, action scenes. And I'm not opposed to excessive action scenes. They just felt out of place in this movie.
I can kind of see that.
In my opinion. And while the gore and everything was great and made my jaw drop, those are the parts of the movie that I was far less interested in, and they took up far more real estate in this movie than I think other parts that for me that would have strengthened this film.
See, I don't necessarily I see what you're saying. I don't necessarily think I agree with it. I thought the actions, I didn't think they took up too much time, and I thought they were relatively funny and they fit tonally in that way. But I can see if that wouldn't necessarily be what you were looking for out of it.
Yeah, and like I said, I try to do my best to reviewing a movie for what it is, but I will say I went in with certain expectations, so that could, and upon a rewatch, I might feel differently about a lot of this, but going in with one expectation in my mind, especially because there's certain expectations you just get from it being a Dracula film.
Right.
I wish there would, like, because I saw a trailer or two from this movie, and I guess none of that, I don't remember much of that aspect being in it. So I guess there was almost like, I talk about like the promise of the premise quite a bit because of that, because of Writers Blockbusters, that screenwriting podcast I like.
Yeah.
And the promise of the premise idea is you watch a trailer. Let's use Friday the 13th as an example.
Yeah.
You watch a trailer for Friday the 13th. What do they normally try to sell you?
You know, campers.
Mm-hmm.
There's gonna be Jason's gonna be there. There's gonna be a lot of kills, like a high kill count.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you went to go see a Friday the 13th movie, and that was the trailer, and then instead you got 50 minutes of nothing happening, no Jason, and it became a musical, or it became a musical instead.
It's a hard transition.
It's a hard transition because that's not the promise of the premise.
Yeah, it's
So-
like it could still be a good movie, and maybe you would still like it, but you also might not because it's not what you expected.
Exactly.
But,
and,
yeah.
and there's some of that involved. And like I said, maybe some of the trailers had some of those action-y sequences.
I don't
It
remember
just-
the trailers at all.
It just felt more like an action film than I feel like I was expecting.
Yeah.
And upon rewatch, that I might feel different about it because now I know it's there.
Right.
But I honestly wanted more of Nicolas Cage in this movie. He was
Yeah,
in this
I do
movie
wish he
so
was in a little
little.
more because he was fantastic. And like I said, I love the character of Renfield and the way he was portrayed and everything like that. But I do wish there was a little bit more of Dracula in it, just because of how good Nick Cage was. But overall, I thought I really liked the movie. I loved how colorful it was.
Yeah.
Like it was.
It had
I'm
a really dramatic color grade to it.
Yeah, I'm not great at noticing like subtleties of cinematography and stuff like that, but like
Have I taught you nothing? I'm kidding. I'm fucking with you.
I'm better than I used to be. But like
You're better than you give yourself credit for.
I more so notice when things are like feel off more than I notice when they're done well, if that makes sense, which is probably part of the point.
Yeah. When something looks like shit, you notice it, but when things match the look and style of a movie, you don't notice it.
Yeah, and sound always bothered me more if there's bad sound than bad.
Especially now that like I feel like bad sound is far more obvious now.
Yeah.
With our setup.
Yeah, but I thought it was really pretty. I loved the crazy colors. It made it feel so much more like grungy because of the contrast and
It was
whimsical
very
because of the
contrasty.
colors. So
Yeah, definitely. Oh, right. So anything else you want to say about Renfield?
I don't think so.
All right, then we're going back in time to talk about Birdie, which surprisingly, Birdie, according to Fandango, has an 80% tomato meter
Really?
and an 84% audience rating.
Really?
That's not bad.
No.
To give you a frame of reference, Cotton Club has a 77% critic rating, so tomato meter,
Okay.
55% audience score, so that's a big drastic change.
Yeah.
And then Renfield, 55% tomato meter, so that's considered not fresh,
Okay.
and a 79% audience score.
Okay.
So theoretically, Birdie has the better overall.
Okay.
That's my way of viewing it.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
both audience and critics agree,
Yeah.
then I think there's something there. Anyways, our good friends over at Fandango describe Birdie as Birdie, played by Stranger Things Matthew Modine, returns from the
Or Crispin Glover.
I know, or he is very Crispin Glover in
Especially
this movie.
like in the past ones, like
Yeah.
the way his hair
His
cut
hair,
in the past,
swoopy
he
hair.
looks like Crispin Glover.
Yeah. If Nicolas Cage looks like the dude from The Bear and Shameless in this movie, then Matthew Modine is definitely Crispin Glover.
Yeah.
But anyways, Birdie, played by Matthew Modine, returns from the Vietnam War, scarred from the horrific experiences of battle. He is so damaged by what he saw that he has shut himself off from reality completely, imagining that he is actually a bird. Birdie is confined to a mental hospital where the doctors are at a loss as how to treat him. In an attempt to help, Al, played by Nicolas Cage, his best friend from high school, and who was also in Vietnam, visits him every day to try and get through to him. According to Letterboxd, the tagline for this movie is a soaring experience unlike anything you've ever seen before. It's a terrible. Like,
Yeah.
it's so generic. Anyways, so this is from 1984, directed by Alan Parker, who is best known for having directed Pink Floyd's The Wall and Angel Heart.
Okay.
What'd you think of Birdie?
I loved it.
I did too.
I
I think out of the 3 movies, this is definitely the best.
I think the description, driving home the Vietnam War aspect, I don't think that was as prominent as I was led to believe. And especially because for us, it was on that collection of, like, soldiers returning to war. Like,
it was on a Mill Creek collection called Scars of War.
Yeah, like, and Nick Cage's character is very traumatized from war. 100%. And Birdie clearly is also traumatized from war. Like, when we saw the clips of what happened to him, don't get me wrong. But, like, if you go back, and considering so much of it took place in the past before the Vietnam War, and Birdie was already struggling with, like, who he was, and, like, I guess I said last night, like, I'm fairly confident he was autistic. And kind of seems like his dad might have been, too.
Yeah.
And he got that, because that's hereditary typically from the father. Like...
And his dad had very similar, like...
Quirks, yeah.
Quirks. It just seemed like he managed them differently.
He unfortunately found a way to conform and mask.
Yeah.
Whereas Birdie was struggling to do that. And I feel like all of that stuff was there, and then it makes sense that the trauma of what he experienced in the Vietnam War is what led him to kind of snap in the way he did. But I just feel like it being the Vietnam War is not the prominent story.
No, it's definitely the backdrop there. And,
it's what brings them back together, because Nick Cage's character
one could argue that he completely snapped. Like, he was kind of progressing to this point.
Yeah.
But that set him over the edge.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Like, all of that...
Like, I do think it was needed, but I don't think it being...
It's not as central to his character as they're making it out to be.
Yeah, because I really thought this was, like... It was going to begin... Like, it does begin with them... You spend so much time in the past that it's like it does begin technically with them coming back from war. But because of how much time you actually spend in the past, it doesn't really feel like it begins that way. Because it's not like it's just short flashbacks. It's like long sequences of their past.
Yeah. And what I think is so beautiful about this movie, because I do think this is just a really beautifully told story, is it's a movie about trauma. And it's not necessarily trauma induced by war.
No,
it's
for Nick Cage it is,
but it's also trauma from life.
Yeah,
that war has
brought out,
ramped up, because a lot of Nicolas Cage's trauma goes back to his father.
That's right. Yeah.
So his issue with figures in control, originate from there.
Yeah.
And I feel like Birdie, his whole thing is he never felt much of a connection to humans anyways, but then seeing all the death and destruction caused by humans, I think has just, that was what set him over the edge.
I definitely got the impression. Side note: I just remembered that Nick Cage had a brother that we don't see other than in the very beginning.
Yeah.
That is like he is the reason that they.
He is the inciting incident
that led to them being friends, and then we never.
I thought you said this guy stole your knife. I said he had my knife,
and then we never saw him again. But like Birdie definitely seemed like a kid that was struggling to make friends. You know, he was quirky. He was very passionate about birds, and no one ever really connected with him. And he seemed relatively okay with that. But then Nick Cage offering to help him, it's like that just set off such a... And which I don't expect from this like kind of sportsy wrestling baseball guy.
Well, here's the thing too. What's so smart about this screenplay is it's motivated originally by money.
That's true, yeah.
Because Nicolas Cage is once again talking to his brother who never shows up again, and he goes because all of it comes down to Nicolas Cage's brother, who's the reason he met Birdie, because Nicolas Cage goes to get his brother's knife back because he believes that Birdie stole it. But as soon as he finds out that the knife wasn't his, he gave it back to the kid anyway.
Yeah, because Birdie bought it from the guy who actually stole it.
But then Nicolas Cage's brother says, it's like, oh yeah, this guy I think Birdie says something about carrier pigeons.
Yeah.
He wants to train carrier pigeon.
Yeah.
And Nicolas Cage's brother later on says, if he could actually do that, I'd buy one. I know a lot of guys that would.
Yep.
Nicolas Cage was like, really? Cut to
Nicolas
Cage.
Helping him.
This movie uses editing in a really interesting where it cuts it. uses editing to deliver a punchline. Like
Yeah.
later on when Nicolas Cage is like, when Birdie builds that fucking bird suit, he's like, oh, I made you a bird suit. Nicolas Cage is like, I'm never going to be caught dead in that thing. Hard cut to him wearing it.
Yep.
So, like, Nicolas Cage originally does it because he thinks, oh, this is a quick way to make a buck. This kid's weird. I'm sure he knows how to do this.
Yeah.
And then they start, forming
Bonding, yeah.
bonding. And,
And then Birdie, he wears the stupid suit because at that point he's starting to like Birdie. But then I think him thinking Birdie was going to die when he fell,
yeah.
I think it made him realize, like, I really care about this kid. He's, like, one of my friends.
Yeah.
And then they were kind of inseparable after that
Yeah,
for
like,
quite a while.
They're always hanging out.
Yeah.
Like, the only thing that Nicolas Cage likes more in this movie than Birdie is tits.
Yeah.
Made evident by the fact, we're not just being funny here. Like, he legitimately has a whole fucking speech about how great boobs are.
Yeah, because Birdie's like, well, I don't get the point. They're just mammary glands.
He's like, Birdie, you don't
They're
know
not
what you're...
mammary glands.
You don't know what you're missing. It is a whole great little moment.
Yeah. But no, I thought it was... I don't know, I think it's a great story of two young boys becoming friends from different worlds. Looks like they're both from Philadelphia. Neither of them seem like they're very well off, but
No.
like, Birdie's, like I said, he's someone who's kind of a loner, whereas Nick Cage seemed like he had friends. He was constantly with women. He was playing sports. He was a wrestling guy. Like, they went different paths in life despite coming
He's
from
also
similar...
fucking jacked in
Yeah.
this movie.
So, like, it's just kind of a really sweet story about them becoming really good friends, and, like truly really good friends.
Yeah.
And not just, like, on a superficial level.
And they use the flashbacks in a really interesting way because since the whole movie it's like through line as Nicolas Cage trying to, because at this point in the what could be considered the contemporary time
Yeah.
in the film, Birdie is in a psych hospital and he's gone.
Yeah, he's not talking
He's
to
not
anyone.
speaking. He's just kind of crouched over. He's acting very much like a bird.
Mm-hmm.
He's just fucking gone. And Nicolas Cage is brought in to try to communicate with him to get him to respond. So a lot of what's going on, like the stories that we're seeing, are I assume stories that Nicolas Cage is reminiscing about with him to
Yeah.
and it's usually.
Try to jog his memory.
Yeah, and it's like big, important, impactful moments of their life.
Some of the flashbacks were at night when Birdie was by himself, and I kind of wonder if they were Birdie remembering things on his own.
Yeah.
Also, but yeah, it was largely just like trying to get through to Birdie, get him to snap out of it. Because the psych hospital, like the doctor at first is like, I really want to help him. I want to do whatever I can. But as it goes on, he kind of just seems like...
That guy's an asshole.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not doing... We're done with this. This is ridiculous. Like, he's just not... He finds Birdie to be fascinating in the... That's interesting that humans could do that, but, like, not in, like, he's really a human who needs help kind of way.
Well, part of that was... Probably a lot of that was also just the way mental health was viewed.
It was, and it was a military psych hospital. It wasn't even just a regular psych hospital.
There was that line that really stuck out with me when Nicolas Cage woke up screaming in the middle of the night, and the orderly he was staying with, he said, please don't tell anyone about this,
Yeah.
because PTSD was severely looked down upon, and he's worried they're probably going to lock him up
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah. Well, and, like, psych hospitals back then...
Sucked.
I don't know what they're like now, but I'm sure they're not as bad as they were then. And, like...
Well, I was just walking on the units of one the other day, and it seemed a lot nicer than they did in this movie.
And then, like, I mean, I just think back to, like, granted it was World War II, but my grandma always talked about how my grandfather was afraid of thunderstorms. He would hide under the table during a thunderstorm. And, like, it wasn't until I got older that I was like, that's probably PTSD. Mm-hmm. And it was just, he was just afraid of thunderstorms. But, like, no, he was actually traumatized from what he saw in war. And understandably.
This movie uses the war footage in a really interesting way where it's never... So me and Kyle, when we did our episode on Top Gun...
Yeah.
I brought up a quote from Francois Truffaut when he said that anytime you make a war movie, you inadvertently make a pro-war movie.
I disagree.
Well, that was his thought.
Yeah.
But
I'm just saying I disagree.
And I thought what works so well about this movie is it never becomes like a war exploitation film.
Nope.
They uses it in a very seldom fashion just to show how fucked up and terrible things were.
Yeah.
But it's never a movie about war. It just
Yeah.
it's about two characters who went to war, and any of their existing trauma was just ramped up because
Yeah.
of it.
I do think that part of that, I mean, I haven't seen a whole ton of Vietnam Wars movies, but I do wonder if part of that is because it's set in the Vietnam War, and that war is typically not viewed heroically in the way that a lot of other wars have been.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'd be curious if this was set in World War II, if it would be treated the same way.
What's interesting, I looked it up. The book this is based on was set during World War II.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Because I did see some comments on Letterboxd that were commenting that it kind of felt like World War II more than the Vietnam War.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he
Interesting.
he contemporized it.
Interesting. Okay.
And also, I should say that Francois Truffaut quote came from, I don't think he was even alive when the Vietnam War, or if he was, he was near the end of his life. I don't know exactly how old he was. But anyways, he was probably commenting more towards, like the John Wayne War movies.
Yeah.
and shit
Oh,
like
absolutely.
Because like we're
And he's not wrong. Most war movies, I feel like it's not. I disagreed in that I don't think it's not possible to make a war movie that is not.
wow, he died in '84, so he was still alive during the
Okay.
Vietnam War.
I disagreed in that I don't believe that it's impossible to make a war movie.
Yes.
I disagree in that, they do exist, but they're very seldom treated that way. They're usually treated as war propaganda.
Yes.
Pro-war.
Yes, and I
Which
think
is
that's
why I don't like war movies very much.
which is what I think he was saying, because like that was my big issue with both Top Gun films is ultimately
Anything military related usually is like
anything, even the things I enjoyed about say like something like Top Gun Maverick were still undercut by the fact like, oh, this is propaganda.
Yeah.
This movie, Birdie, does not feel like any sort of war
Absolutely not.
propaganda.
Like that's
in the
ultimately
slightest.
what my hesitation is with Oppenheimer is like,
Mm-hmm.
I know it's supposed to be like more. I guess I've heard that it's more about like, oh, this stuff is terrible, but it's like terrible from the wrong perspective. It's terrible from the guy who like fucked up and made a horrible thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like it should be about the sadness of the people on the receiving end.
Yes.
Or the soldiers that, were led to believe that this was like a heroic thing and then it wasn't. You know what I mean? Like that's what works about this one is like they're low-level soldiers who were probably brainwashed and trying to do the right thing and help their country and whatnot, and no one really talked about how fucked up it was, and you know what I mean? So it's like I don't necessarily feel like they're at fault.
I agree.
And they just realized the hard way how messed up it all is.
Yeah, exactly. And that was kind of my issue too with Oppenheimer. And like I said, I don't know how Christopher Nolan treats it. Because like I actually don't know much about the Oppenheimer, who it's about. Like I don't know what his nationality was. Because it is
German, I believe.
Oh, that's true. It could be like I'm interested to see where like the perspective that Nolan treats it being an Englishman. I'm intrigued by it, but I'm not like rushing out to see it because like all the reasons you said, where it's just
I'm intrigued by it, but like because Oppenheimer was the guy that created the atomic bomb, right? Mm-hmm. So it's about him creating the atomic bomb and whether or not like that was like
and why he did it and so on and so forth.
And like it's hard unless like he was forced to create it, which I kind of don't believe that happened, but maybe that is like I would still see the movie, but like you know what I mean? Like it's like unless he didn't realize what it was for, didn't realize what he was doing, they weren't telling him the whole story, he was forced to do it. But it's like if he came here and was like, I have this weapon, which I believe is how I remember being taught it in school, that like the German scientists that came over were like, we have a way to win the war. It's like that I'm uncomfortable with.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to hear about how they did this horrible thing and now they feel bad that they did this.
Oopsie.
Because it's like, yeah, you did a horrible thing, but you know who it's horrible for? The people that you dropped it on.
Like to me, I just think of that once. I bring up this line all the time, but I think about that line from Jurassic Park where they spent more time. I'm going to butcher the quote. They spent more time wondering if they can do something and not whether or not they should do something.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like, I don't know. My memory could be wrong, but I used to really, in high school, I used to like learning about World War II. It's very different.
Mm-hmm.
I was a very different person. I used to like find all of that interesting, and not that I was okay with any of it, obviously. It was more so just like, this is interesting, but fucked up. But, so my memory could be foggy, but like I don't remember it being like you have to do this thing, we're gonna make you do it.
Yeah, I'm definitely more intrigued to see it than I was originally with Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the I don't know for sure, but to me it feels like the intent from Christopher Nolan is probably very different than the people who wanted to make a sequel to Top Gun. Maybe, I don't know. I'm definitely I'm more intrigued to see it than I was Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
But I gotta see Barbie first.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I had like no interest in Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah. Like I said, I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, but it's probably a movie I'm never gonna return to.
Yeah. Side note, the most shocking part of Birdie was that Birdie was allowed to enlist.
I know. How did he enlist? Because by the time that he would have enlisted, like by the time that Al left for war, he was already to the point where he was naked, hanging out with the birds.
The only thing I can
dreaming about like flying, and he was pretty fucking far gone at this point.
The only thing I can think is like losing Perda, like his canary when she died, that like pushed him to like just go and make it and like mask and fake it, but still I'm like, I don't know, I find it very hard to believe that he didn't set off any alarms.
Yeah, unless they just didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, which is also possible. I don't know much about the Vietnam War.
Also, I have to spoil it. The ending for this movie is
it's
so
hilarious.
Fucking, it is so chaotic.
And it makes you wonder, like, was he faking it the whole time?
Yeah. Because at first, so as the movie progresses, Nicolas Cage is trying to get Birdie to talk to him. Near the end, Birdie finally speaks to him, but once the doctor comes in, Birdie clams up. Yeah. As soon as the doctor leaves, Birdie starts talking again.
And he's like, I had nothing to say to him.
So you, for a little bit, since Nicolas Cage is kind of losing it at this point, you start wondering, is Nicolas Cage making this up? But then they're running, they're escaping, they're getting to the roof of this place, and Nicolas Cage is barricading the door and everything, and Birdie runs to the edge of the building and jumps off it in the weirdest way and is flapping his arms, and Nicolas Cage is like, Birdie! Because you believe, oh, Birdie just leaped to his fucking death, and then Nicolas Cage runs over there, it holds on his face, and then the camera starts panning up. You expecting you're going to see Birdie's dead body, and he's standing on a subroof, being like, "What?" And then it fucking ends.
Literally says, "What?" And
what?
That's it. So it's like, I don't know. I think it's really interesting because, like, I don't know if he was faking it because he had nothing to say. Because him and Nick Cage did have a falling out.
Yeah.
He might have legitimately had nothing to say to Nick Cage at the time.
Yeah.
But we did see clips of him on his own. And he was acting the same way. But also, like, again, he was kind of a quirky kid anyway, so.
Yeah. What a weird fucking movie. But, like, I feel like it's going to be a movie that it's going to stick with me for a while.
Yeah.
But what I have to say I like about this movie, too, it's a drama, definitely. But it's not one of those dramas that I feel like it beats you down. Like, I feel like it's a movie that I could put on every once in a while and enjoy watching, because the sequences of dramatic stuff are treated in a very serious way. But, like, I ultimately just really like hanging out with Nicolas Cage and Matthew Modine's characters. Yeah. And it's lighthearted, but it's also managed to be serious when it needs to be.
It's pretty lighthearted. The only part that would make it tough to rewatch is, like, towards, like, the climax when they start remembering, like, their war experiences. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Nick Cage is remembering the shell going off in his face, and Birdie remembers being on the helicopter that goes down.
Both those sequences were so shocking.
Yeah, those were, like, that's where, like, the kind of rough drama comes in, where it's like, that would make it tough, but, like...
But thankfully it comes in a point in the movie where you're invested enough that I feel like it works. Yeah. Because, like, I've seen other dramas where, like, oh, that movie's great. I don't know when I'm going to want to watch it again. This one I can, it's not going to be like, oh, I'm going to watch this every year or something. But I can see myself returning to this one a little bit more.
I thought it was, like, overall, it's a really sweet story. And I love them as kids. or
Oh,
high
I
schoolers.
did too.
I thought they were fantastic. And Nick Cage, he's relatively, like, he's not very cagey in this at all, actually.
No, but he does give an incredible performance.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's an amazing performance. It's just not a crazy performance.
It's been fun watching young Nick Cage because he's a very different type of actor, but you can see those moments.
Yeah.
So as we've done in this show before, we've ranked the Nicolas Cage movies in terms of caginess. And as of right now, we ranked Racing with the Moon as, out of what we've watched, the cagiest performance he's given. That was the one where him and Sean Penn, funny enough, were about to go to war, and he just started giving more of those chaotic Nick Cage moments.
Yeah.
Then we have Rumblefish, Valley Girl, and then Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Cause that one's always going to be the bottom because he has a reaction shot.
Yeah.
Before we add the new films, do you want to change the ranking of any of these?
From what I remember, no.
Yeah, only one I feel like I could potentially see moving was Valley Girl for Rumblefish, but at the same time, he's doing a pretty low-key performance in Valley Girl.
That's what I thought. Like, it's a good performance, but it's not really, like, a crazy performance.
Yes. So, where would you put the Cotton Club? I'm thinking Cotton Club might go above Valley Girl, or might go above Rumblefish, but I think it should go above Valley Girl as well.
I agree.
So you think I should put it above Rumblefish?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, or should we just put it in between the two for now?
Actually, maybe just do in between the two for now.
Yeah, okay. Renfield, I think,
That's the
as of
most-
right now, because that is the most contemporary film, that is the cagiest movie we have watched.
Without a doubt.
Birdie. I'm almost thinking Birdie above Rumblefish. While it's not the cagiest performance,
I mean, that's going to end up being relatively low in the long run. So, yeah, I guess... I feel like it's above Rumblefish just in terms of we see him more.
yes.
So, like, he has more opportunity.
And he does have some more, what eventually becomes his Nick Cage-inspired outbursts.
Yeah,
So-
because he does have a lot of, like, I mean, they're displayed as, like, anger outbursts in Birdie. But, yeah, they're there.
Yeah, though he doesn't quite have a I lost my hand moment, which is coming up a couple movies from now.
Okay. That's actually farther down the list than I thought it was.
Yeah, I don't think he has his teeth fixed yet in that movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah. All right, so as of right now, our Nicolas Cage ranking. Once again, we are not ranking these in terms of best film. Mm-hmm. We are ranking these strictly by where we believe it fits in terms of his performance. So, should I go from the bottom up?
Yes.
All right. So, in our opinion, the least Nick Cage performance up to the cagiest Nick Cage performance, we have at the bottom Fast Times at Ridgemont High because he's in it for literally 2 seconds. He doesn't say a word.
Yeah.
And number 2, this one hurts me a little bit just because it is one of my favorites, but it is a pretty subdued performance.
It's also like his, second movie?
Yes,
So,
it
like-
is. It is Valley Girl from 1983. Up from there, we have, from 1984, The Cotton Club. Then from there, from 1983, Rumblefish. From 1984, we have Birdie. Then also from 1984, we have Racing with the Moon. That man did 3 movies in 1984.
That's crazy.
And then the cagiest performance as of right now, from 2023, Renfield. And then we'll talk about what we've got coming up. 1 second. The next movie from 1986. So this is going to be The Boy in Blue. This is a notoriously hard film to find. Nicolas Cage did, as I said, 3 movies in 1984. He took a year off and came back in 1986 with The Boy in Blue, which is a Canadian film. Notoriously hard movie to find. I might have some channels in which to see it, but if not, we will be renting it from Scarecrow Video. Because we have come too far to skip a movie now.
Yeah.
And that movie is, I'll read the description. Every era has its own kind of hero. Ned Hanlon was Canada's most successful sculling champion at the turn of the 20th century. Sculling is, I think, rowboating.
Oh, okay.
This dramatization of his life begins in his youth when the wild young man is informally adopted by a gambler who promotes Ned on the sculling circuit, betting on the boy's rowing skills solely to make money off of him. Later, a ruthless businessman named Knox takes over Ned's career, but then when Ned realizes how dishonest Knox is, he finds another manager. Walter is an inventor, and the first honest man Ned has dealt with in his career, and under Walter's guidance, Ned rises to great success in the sculling world. So this is his first leading role since Valley Girl.
Okay.
And then,
this doesn't count as a leading role, Birdie?
I guess I guess it depends on how you view leading roles. I view as like who's got their top name in the credits.
Oh, okay.
But I would say Matthew Modine and Nicolas Cage are co-leads.
Like yeah.
Yeah. So I would say, out of the movies we've watched, he was the lead in Valley Girl. He was the lead in Racing with the Moon.
I guess, though, in Birdie, co-leads works, but I guess in Birdie, Modine might possibly be more because we spend more time with Modine on his own.
And it's also named after him.
Yeah, and we spend no time with Nick Cage on his own.
Yeah, so using that, then I guess, Racing with the Moon is also considered a leading role. Yeah. After The Boy in Blue, we might try to tackle this next month as well. We have one of my fucking favorites, Peggy Sue Got Married. Mm-hmm. Also directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Then we have one of the Coen brothers' early films, Raising Arizona.
Okay.
Which I love.
Have I seen that one?
I've seen it. You haven't.
Okay.
And then Moonstruck.
Okay. So,
we're getting up there. We're slowly getting to the 90s.
Yeah.
So that's what we have for this episode of Cages of Rage. If you guys are listening on Patreon, I don't have to explain the Patreon to you, but keep your ears peeled for new episodes, and thanks for listening. You got anything else you want to say?
Nope.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
The Shameless Picture Show is recorded in Milwaukee, Wisconsin and Easton, Maryland, and is hosted and produced by Nick Richards and Michael Viers. Today's episode was edited by Michael Viers. Our opening theme music was written especially for us by The Directionals, with narration by Zach McLain. The end credit music you're enjoying at the moment was generously provided by my friends in the band 10 Speed. The Shameless graphic design is masterfully done by Amanda Viers. An extra special thank you to all of our Patreon supporters and to our generous sponsors. We are on Spotify, Stitcher Radio, iTunes, Google Play, and Libsyn. You can find links for all these amazing people in the description below.
Thank you for listening. To hear more shows from the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, please select the link in the description